Hey guys, I'm back with another video, and for this video I've managed to loan the brand new Z7 II from Nikon, as well as the new 14-24 F2.8 S lens. So I've been shooting with this combination for about a week now, and I'm going to share with you guys my thoughts about the camera, how it compares to my existing Nikon Z7 with the other very popular landscape lens, the 14-30 F4.
A few moments later.
Alright, so I'm gonna get the obvious stuff out of the way first. The new Z7 II, it feels exactly the same as the Z7 that I've been shooting with for over a year now. The dimensions are almost the same, and I think the new Z7 II is only about 30 grams heavier than the old Z model. So it's pretty much the same body. The good thing is that all my existing accessories, they still work on it. My out plate, I can still use it. My shutter release, it still works. Everything works exactly the same, and that's something that's really good if you are looking to upgrade from your Nikon Z7. And of course, this is one feature that all professional photographers have been asking about, which is having two memory card slots. So I like to shoot with the XQD card in RAW format, and the backup card, the SD card, will be saving in the JPEGs. So if I need to get out the JPEGs for quick sharing, I can use the SD card. If I want to get the main data off for my photos, I use the XQD card. And then the next improvement, that is the biggest improvement of all these new cameras, is that it has now 2x speed processors inside the camera body. So this is supposed to speed up the processing speed, which means faster autofocus as well as a faster buffer read time. Now this is a major upgrade over the existing Z7. Now the old Z7, it takes about 23 images in RAW full resolution format before the buffer gets filled up. But with this new Z7 II, it can shoot up to 77 images before the buffer is filled up. That's almost a 3 times increase. So if you're shooting something fast, for instance, if you're shooting a wedding and the couple is dancing and you just want to fire off some quick shots, the Z7 II will do a much better job than your existing Z7. Alright, so now time for the fun part. I have the Z7 II set to capture RAW and JPEG. I'm gonna shoot a sequence of images, and let's see how fast before it starts to slow down. There's an XQD card and there's a SD card inside, so let's go. Alright, so it's finally started to slow down. It took quite a number of shots. That was pretty impressive, and it's busy processing the images right now. I can't even. Alright, let's see. So that was pretty good. That was about 40 images before it started to slow down. Now you're never ever going to shoot at such a high burst mode for landscape photography, but it's useful, like I said, for weddings or for events, and it's just great to know that it's there if you need it. So let's just try that again and see how it goes. Yep, it started to slow down. Alright, so that's the burst mode of the Z7 II. Given that it's capturing almost 47 megapixels per image, I think that is pretty impressive. And besides that, another improvement is that right now with the new Z7 II, it can be powered using a USB-C device. That means that you can actually use a power bank to power up the battery if you need to. So one of my favorite new features of the new Z series cameras is the live view shooting. Now I shoot a lot of weddings, and when I do so, I tend to bring out the viewfinder out like this, and I'll just talk to the wedding couple, I'll talk to the wedding guests, kind of like the way I'm talking to the camera right now, and I'll just be shooting while I'm talking to them and trying to make them laugh. And so I kind of have the viewfinder out like this, and I'll be talking to people, and I'll be snapping away, and the person I'm talking to may or may not realize that I'm actually taking photos of them. It's a great way of getting very casual, very candid shots. And the good thing about the new camera is that when the LCD is out like this, it actually turns off the viewfinder display, so the display doesn't switch over to the viewfinder, and then you end up with a black screen on your live view. So this is a pretty basic feature, but has made my life so much better. So really, thank you Nikon for doing this for the new series of Z series cameras. Okay, so another one of my favorite features of this new Nikon Z cameras is the new wide area autofocus mode. Now for my older Z6 and Z7 camera bodies, when I select face detection, it will detect the entire screen area to look for faces and to autofocus on people's eyes. But with this new wide autofocus area selection mode, you can select just a portion of the screen, and I find that is something that's very useful when I'm shooting people, and hopefully Nikon will consider it as a software upgrade for the older Nikon Z series cameras. Alright, so right now I'm going to share my experience with this new lens and body combination. I expected the same performance. After all, it's the same sensor in the Z7 II as well as in the Z7. To be frank, the new dual processors, it doesn't really help with landscape photography. That works more for autofocus and for your buffer reading speed, neither of which are things that you really need for landscape photography. So I was pretty much expecting the same output, the same performance, but I've come across some pretty weird things. For example, there seems to be a lot more detail that you can pull from the highlight areas of the raw file, but a lot less than what I used to get from the shadow areas of the file. Now I'm very familiar with the Nikon Z7, I've shot a lot with it. I'm also very familiar with the D850. Both of those cameras seem to perform the same way, but this new Z7 II, it seems like there's just less data that you can recover from the shadow areas of the image, but more that you can receive from the highlight areas of the image. Now this is something that is important to take note of, because when I used to shoot with this Nikon cameras, I would be very aware of that I should not blow out the highlights. I should actually shoot more towards the shadow areas, because I can restore more data from the shadow areas, and but there's not that much information in the raw file for the highlight areas. Now for this camera, it seems to be a bit different. There seems to be less data that I can recover from the shadow areas, and on the flip side, I seem to be getting more out of the highlight areas, and that's a bit weird. I'm not sure if it's due to some of the camera settings which is inside. I don't think so, but this is something that if any of you guys have encountered with your own experience with this camera, feel free to leave a comment down below or email me, let me know. I'm really curious to know why it's behaving this way. Otherwise, the new cameras, it pretty much functions the same as the old ones. I can't really say that it's that much better. The biggest improvement to me, besides the autofocus, which seems to be a lot snappier, it kind of just locks onto faces a lot faster, and it tracks them a lot better. And besides that, and having 2 card slots, just the security of having 2 memory cards, there doesn't seem to be much in this new camera to convince an existing Z7 user to upgrade. So hopefully Nikon comes up with something better in the Z8 or Z9 or whatever is coming out next. But right now, as an owner that has been shooting with the Z7, I don't really see much reason to upgrade. Alright, so now the next thing I'm going to talk about is the lens itself. So I'm going to compare this 14-24 F2.8 with the 14-30 F4 that I've been working with for a very long time. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that is my workhorse lens. I use it for like most of my landscape shoots. That lens alongside with the 24-200, those two pretty much do everything I need. Now, I've been long of the opinion that f2.8 lenses like this isn't that useful for landscape photography, because anyway, most of the time you're gonna shoot at an aperture of f8 or even smaller, f16 most of the time. So f2.8, is it really that useful? Now, I find that in my experience with this lens, I have come into situations where I cannot set up a tripod, so I kind of open up the aperture, and shoot handheld, and that's when the bigger aperture really comes into play. But I'm just not sure how often that really is going to happen to you when you're using this, when you're shooting your landscape in real life. And this lens, of course, is also much bigger and bulkier than the 14-30 F4. Now, one of the biggest issues that I have with this lens is that it has a much bigger filter diameter. So what this means is that it has 112mm diameter trap for filters. So if you're going to use any circular polarizers, or you're going to put on any filters in the front of this lens, it's going to cost you a lot more money to buy those filters, because they're bigger, and they're also going to be bulkier. So if you're thinking about saving space when you're hiking up a mountain, or you're going out to shoot, those bigger filters are really going to take up space in your camera bag. So I did find, however, that this lens is slightly sharper than the 14-30mm F4. It's not a huge difference. If you follow my previous videos, I've mentioned before that most of the time the images that we post, they're only seen on social media. That means that you only see them, on a handphone screen, or in Instagram, or maybe in a computer like this. You're not really gonna see that much of a sharpness difference unless you're gonna print out the images, into something like a 24 by 36 inch. There's whatever slight improvement you have in sharpness is not gonna be seen by this. So if you're gonna choose this lens over the 14-30th, I think the main reason would be for astrophotography. That's when the f2.8 will come into use. Or if besides doing landscapes, you're also doing events or wedding photography where you need that f2.8. Otherwise, the smaller, cheaper, more compact 14-30 F4 might be a better choice if you're a landscape photographer, and there's so many options for filters that you can put on the other lens. So I'm going to show you guys some of the images that I've shot with the Nikon Z7 II, as well as the 14-24mm F2.8. I tried to shoot as much as I can during this period, but this is the Christmas week itself, so unfortunately I do not have a lot of shots to show you guys, but I do enjoy what I have for you. And thank you once again to Nikon for loaning me the Nikon Z7 II and the 14-24 F2.8. Yeah, enjoy the images. Let me know what you guys think. Remember to give me a like and hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Shalom and goodbye.